Hi, everyone, and welcome to the new parent meeting. So obviously you've all watched Janet's meeting. She's gone over some basics about the school. So I'm just going to talk about some of the things that you need to know as new parents. First of all, I would love to um, welcome you to the school. Thank you so much for choosing us. We really appreciate the opportunity to get to know your children and yourselves and guide them through this early part of their life that is so important. So we're going to get right to it so I can keep this as short as possible. So first of all, just at the very beginning, I know you've had some of this talk, but I just wanted to reiterate that the first part of school for your kids is a really important kind of settling in period, understanding our expectations, what we are going to be teaching them, and also what we expect them to do throughout the day. There's a lot of self-care, environment care, those kind of things that they are really learning. And it's a wonderful foundation for them to build all of their other lessons on. That ability to do a full cycle of work, which means that they're taking work off the shelf, completing it, and then taking it back where it needs to go. And that includes pushing chairs in, making sure things are cleaned up, making sure that everything is put back the way that they found it. These are great foundational lessons that they're going to be using for the rest of their time at Montessori and hopefully for the rest of the time that they're in school. It's just a great lesson to learn. What you're going to see most likely is that within the first few weeks, and I'm sure most of you have seen it already, that your children start to do things spontaneously that they weren't doing before. Maybe they're not interrupting as much, or they are cleaning up after themselves after dinner, or they're taking care of getting dressed in the morning. All of these things are great indicators that they're really starting to absorb and understand these lessons in their little hearts. So that's what we want to see, and hopefully that's what you will see as well. Now, we do expect your children to have a settling in period. We give them a good 6 weeks before we make any determination on um, things from whether or not they are here for too short of a day, too long of a day, if they need to have more support in other areas. Any of those things, we need to really let them settle in, because the child that we meet the first week is not going to be anything like the child that we are working with the third or fourth week. They need to have that ability to be comfortable with us, to be comfortable in their environment, to really kind of blossom. So give them that time. We are always welcome. We always welcome you to ask us the questions that you want to know. Give us your concerns, absolutely. But understand that some of these things will kind of even out and calm down as you give your children that time to just kind of settle in. So keep that in mind with what you're talking with your children about. Expect, especially anytime, but especially these first little bits, and then when it's hot, your children are going to have some days where they come home and they're just done. They're tired, they're emotional, they really are not in the best mind space, and they need to have some kind of decompression time. They're really busy, and especially if this is their first school experience, they're going from just being at home with mom and dad, people that pretty much know what they want before they want it, to being in an environment where adults are expecting them to talk about what they need. They're with peers that are going to have also a lot of needs and wants. And it's going to be not so much a competition, but there's only so much that one adult can do at a time. So they're going to be learning how to wait for things. They're going to be learning how to ask for things instead of demanding things. And this is a really important lesson that I hope that you are also reiterating at home, that, you know, it's, can I please have some water? Now, not my water's empty, shaking it in your face. So all of these things mean that you may have children coming home, they're a little bit tired. They may have stopped napping as long and they may go back to longer naps. They may need some quiet downtime, and that's actually really important for all children to understand, is that they can take some time to just kind of decompress. So keep that in mind when you're picking up your kids, that maybe this isn't the best time to go right to a class, or go play at grandma's, this kind of stuff. They may need that time to just calm down. And you'll see as they get more used to the expectations and they get used to the day that they have at school, that will change. So just be patient with your kids. We talked a little bit about those first lessons. They're doing a lot of cleaning up after themselves. And I know Janet talked to you about the Small Hands catalog. There are so many wonderful things in there, but keep that in mind when your children are maybe having a rough time at home. It's dinner time, it's time for your food to be made, places to be set at the table. If your children are having that kind of getting out of control, get them involved. Ask them to help you. Say that you've heard from us that they're doing such a wonderful job, taking care of their own plates, cups, that kind of thing. Well, specifically now cups, because we don't really have the plates for snack time. But they are cleaning up after themselves at lunch. They're crumbing their own tables. They're sweeping if they stay for lunch. They're doing the same thing at snack time. So get them involved. Ask them to sweep the floor, or give them a wet rag and tell them that they can clean the windows. The windows may not be the cleanest, but your kids will be super happy that they're involved. And it'll give you a little bit of peace in the afternoon as well. And those are things that they're doing all day. So keep that in mind. We're also doing a lot of care of self. And what that means is that we are giving your children the space and the opportunity to put their own clothes on if they're having to change, or, pull their own pants up, put their own shoes and socks on. Are they the greatest at it? No, and it really doesn't matter. The point is that we're hoping that they can start to build those abilities. And we know that it's really, really, really hard not to jump in and just save them from that shirt that's they're kind of tangled in, or those shoes that keep going on the wrong way. Show them how to do it, take them back off, and let them go for it. That knowledge that they're going to gain is huge for them. And it makes them feel so much better about themselves than if they're always having to rely on someone else. And we've already heard back from some of our families that their kids that, fought going to the bathroom by themselves, or didn't want to get ready for school in the morning, are doing it now spontaneously, and they're so excited. And it's, just because we've given them that space to be self-sufficient. And really, your children around the age of 2 into like 4, that is the pinnacle of what they want, is to be able to just kind of boss themselves during the day. And, not in a bad way, but in the way of they can get dressed, they can feed themselves, they can clean up after themselves, they can do all of these things on their own. That's why at this age, we talk so much about giving reasonable choices. Now, that doesn't mean we're having donuts for dinner. It means, hey, I'm making dinner. Why don't you help me choose? Are we going to have broccoli tonight, or are we going to have cauliflower? Are we going to have potatoes? Are we going to have bread? Give them a couple of choices and let them have a say in what's happening. You'll find that they're much more likely to be cooperative about eating their food or putting their clothes on when they've had a little bit of say. Now, that doesn't mean, hey, little 2-year-old, please go in and choose your outfit for the next day out of what looks like an infinity of choices. It means that, when you're choosing the day before, and I really recommend this, is that the night before you say, let's choose what you're going to wear tomorrow, and leave it out. You give them choices. Do you want to wear the blue pants, or do you want to wear the brown pants? And let them choose those things, put them in a space that they know, and then tell them, you can get up and get dressed in the morning. I think that's great. Put your pajamas wherever you put them, and then get dressed, and then we can get ready for the school day. The key is to do it now while they're much younger. As they get older, it becomes more of a challenge. So you want this habit to start and to be part of their daily routine right now. And that's something that they're learning. So that goes hand in hand with what we're already talking about. And we talk a lot in Montessori about learning through doing. That's really an important aspect of what we're teaching your kids. they'll learn to clean up by making messes and by being given the room to take care of it themselves. Obviously, these aren't, broken glass messes, but when your attitude is, oh, it landed on the floor, why don't you go get what you need to clean it up, and then tell them what they need, instead of going in and saying, oh, just go, I'll do it. They love having that ability to take care of their own mistakes. And what you'll find is that the child that does take care of their own mistakes is more careful the next time. We talk a lot about having things in your home that are beautiful, having things that are breakable. Now, does that mean you take out your family heirlooms? No, of course not. If it means going and getting some kind of okay stuff that's maybe cheap from Goodwill that you don't mind getting broken, but having those things out so that your child develops that reverence for things, that they understand that if they go racing through the living room where they're not supposed to be running anyway and knock this down, it could break. It doesn't have the same impact when everything is child-proofed. And I'm not saying dangerous things, I'm just saying in general. When their life means that they can be as crazy and wild and off the wall as possible, they're never going to internalize that self-discipline because there are no consequences for their actions. So keep that in mind when you're setting things up for them. I highly recommend you look at some of the Montessori in the home information. There are things on Pinterest, there are videos on YouTube, all these things about setting up your child's environment to be another part of their Montessori environment, because it's very logical and it very much ties into that care of self. So take a little time to do that. If you want some recommended videos, just let me know and I will set you up with those. The next thing we want to talk about is routine. I've actually written this down: routine. Remember that your child's school week starts the night before their first day of school that week. So Friday nights, it's a crazy night because there's no school the next day. But we find a lot of kids come in on their first day of school and they're overly tired, they're very emotional, and it takes them some time to kind of get back into the routine. We've had some children that we know, and we've written notes that we just leave them alone on Monday because they need that day to really reestablish their own personal routine. And then on Tuesday, they're amazing. But that Monday can't be interrupted. They need to do what they need to do and get back the calm, and then they're good to go. So to get your child to the point where they can really be right off the bat ready to go, that means that Sunday night is a calm night. Bedtimes are enforced. This isn't a night to have a long movie night. This is time for there to be a good, quiet routine going on, and the same thing throughout the day. And we know and we appreciate that everything has been different for the last 6 to 8 months. It has been so challenging for everybody to get back into a routine, and we appreciate that. So please don't think that we don't. So right now, our goal is to get your children into the most effective routine for them. We're always going to be the same. We have the same people as much as humanly possible here. We have the same routine as much as we can, and we try to introduce things gradually so that it doesn't upset your child's sense of order. This is an important part of what they do here. So help us out with that by doing the same when you're at home, is helping that sense of order. I apologize, I have a kitty cat helper here today, so he might be part of the video as well, and he's sitting on my notes. The last thing, or one of the last things I want to talk about is the virtue vouchers. And just to reiterate and clarify that, the virtue lesson, especially for your new, younger children, is something that is going to be a little bit shorter than what I give to all the other kids. It's usually part of Jamie's story time for the 12 o'clock dismissal children. For the younger nappers, they listen to the lesson while I'm giving it to the older kids because we're all inside together. All of this will change, obviously, when our schedule changes because the weather gets nicer. But for right now, while we're eating inside, I'm going to be doing those lessons on Wednesday. So it's on the school calendar. You can mark it on yours as well, that Wednesday is the Virtue Day. And that reminder will go out on Blooms the day before. Mainly, this is for the older children to have a chance to talk with their parents about the virtue so that they can participate in the lesson. You are welcome to do the same thing. Give your child an idea of what that virtue looks like in your home, what you do about that virtue. We've had wonderful stories come from our children, even from the little ones, about how they practice things like service to the community, how they practice kindness and generosity. So these are things you can talk with your child about, at the same time we're doing it at school. And then the following Monday is when the virtue voucher comes in. And we understand that our littlest children are working on all of these. Our adults, our teachers are working on these as well. So we don't expect that every child is going to come in with a virtue voucher with this stellar example of what they did. For some kids, it's a work in progress. It might be that so-and-so showed patience by waiting for a few extra minutes for mom or dad's attention. Now, was it great? Did they still interrupt? Maybe. But the ability for them to get up in front of everyone and have that read and have that acknowledged, that they're working on it, is a huge boost to their self-esteem. And you will find that reiteration and that acknowledgement will help what you're doing at home be even more impactful. So keep that in mind. Now, the other just kind of nuts and bolts stuff, please make sure your children always have extra clothes. We've had some things go home already, obviously, because children have accidents, and we understand that. Make sure that if something went home with them the night before, that it's coming back with them the next day, or a replacement set is coming back. We do not have a huge backlog of extra clothes that we can just loan out. We do have as many as we can store, but especially for our much larger children or much smaller children, we just don't have the quantity that we need to really provide for kids. So we need you to take care of that. For your very little children who maybe have big accidents, especially with P, consider sending in an extra set of shoes as well, especially if you notice that we're in the thing where they might be having an accident every week or every other week. Send in an extra set of shoes so that those can be replaced as well, because sometimes that happens, that they get filled with P as well. So please keep on top of that. Again, with our health policies, I know that we're reiterating this over and over again, but we are doing the very best we can to keep everybody healthy. So make sure that that is something that you are reminding your children about, with the hand washing, catching their sneezes. It's never too young to learn how to blow their nose. Some of our littlest children are the best at it. So practice those things and make sure that they are understanding. And also know, that you need to have that backup in the wings, that if your child does become sick, you know exactly what's going to happen, that they have to stay home until their symptoms are gone for 24 hours. We can't be as flexible this year as we usually are with, I think that it's just allergies, ups. Well, actually, they started running a fever. Those kind of things, the runny nose, the cough, those things we're going to be a lot less flexible with, because we are trying so hard to keep everyone's healthy. And also because the consequences are that if it turns out to be something more serious, we don't want everybody to have been exposed. So keep that in mind. And thank you so much for how well you're already doing. We really do appreciate it. The other thing that I feel like we need to remind new parents of every single time, because it happens so infrequently, is I want to let you know about our rainy day policies. And I know this sounds like it's coming out of left field, but when we have rainy day drop-offs, we do them from the back parking lot And you'll see that there will be a teacher out there. Now, I have no idea when we're actually going to get rain again, but one of the indicators is that the front parking lot will have 2 orange cones in the driveway area. That's your signal that, okay, we're coming in the back. Generally, we will also send out a Blooms message to let you know that the back way is the way that you're going to come in. So, and just to let you know, those of you that drop off early need to know this as well. When you're coming into the back parking area, you need to pull in to the second entrance. There's 2 entrances. It's a half circle. You need to pull into the second entrance and pull all the way up to give the most amount of room for people to not only line up all the way behind you, but also out onto the street. So if we're having an arrival time where it's rainy, we may have 10 cars waiting. So this makes it so that we actually can fit more people in, and so that we're not spilling off into Shea Boulevard, which obviously is very dangerous. So that's something that may come up as well. The last thing I'm going to talk about is conferences. I've had a couple people ask about updates, that kind of thing. You are always welcome to ask me. I talk with Jamie daily about how the smaller children are doing, and we already have most of them coming in and doing lessons inside as well. So know that we are having that constant conversation. When you do want a conference, and this is for all sorts of things, if you would like to talk with us about behavior issues you're seeing, or because you need help with things, or that you're hearing some interesting things coming home from your child, the first thing to do is to send us a message through Blooms. And please put all of the teachers on those messages. All of the teachers should be on any sick notification, late notification, and any concern or something like that. So all of the staff need to be in on that for a couple reasons. First of all, for any of the late ones, that's so that we all know that you're going to be coming in and we can keep an eye out for you. For absences, same thing. Depending on which child we're talking about, we may have lessons planned for them already and we need to change that around. For challenges, we all are with your children at various parts of the day. So if this is something that happened on the playground, it might have been with Miss Dulce or with Miss Jamie or Miss Helen or with myself. If it happened inside the classroom, it was probably with Helen and I. If it was out on the patio, it was probably with Dulce and Jamie. But depending on what actually happened, we may have different input. So we all need to be in on those notifications so that we can talk about it and get back to you in a timely manner. For the actual conferences, if we feel like this is something we absolutely need to talk out, then that's some time that we will set up a conference, and we will do that in the late afternoon or early evening, and we're doing it through Zoom for right now. Now, our conferences, our regular first semester conferences, are in November. And I highly recommend that you sign up for one if you're a new parent, because this is a great time to kind of touch base and find out what your child has been doing, and let us know what you're seeing at home as well. If you have behavior questions, if you have other questions, if you are hearing some things that you want to talk out, you can always request a conference. Probably right now we will see how much we can get done with messaging, but absolutely we will set that up. So just let me know what you're thinking about that. And those conference sign-up times will be on Blooms. There will be a sign-up like there is for SNAC, and there's also a conference sheet that you will download and fill out. There will be more information coming from that. So that is the end of the new parent meeting. If you have any questions, if you have any comments, please Blooms message me. Blooms is going to be our go-to for all sorts of things, so make sure that you're comfortable with that. Everybody who does drop off and pick up, make sure that that is something that they are very much comfortable with. All right, so have a good evening.